20 years, how it feel?
20? I'm not that old.
How does 10 years feel?
10 years. It feels like we created a football team in 10 years.
Football team.
Basketball team?
Maybe. A choir. So,
Definitely. But yeah.
This is the story of freedom. This is the story of freedom. This is the story of freedom. We're gonna sing to freedom. This is the story of freedom. This is the story of freedom.
Well, what do you think was like your biggest struggle in the 10 years of marriage? Your biggest struggle or our biggest struggle that we had to face together or whatever?
I think my biggest struggle and the biggest struggle is like adjusting with how, like, you know, like people don't stay the same.
Yeah.
So like we got married when we was like, well, I was a teenager. You was pretty much a teenager too.
Yeah.
But it's like after all that time, you're gonna change and grow, and it's like you're not gonna be married to the same person.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
It's funny because that saying is like, well, you married her. I'm like, I didn't marry you this way.
Right.
I married you a different way.
Right.
So
Right.
I had to grow, you know, with you, and you had to grow with me. So that was a big thing because we were totally different people back then, I think. Not totally different, but...
But it's like if you like going through college and stuff, then you're gonna have to figure out who you are, because normally that's what people are doing.
Right.
If they're not married, they're like just trying to figure out who they are. But to do that like with a person, it's hard.
And then adding 4 kids in the mix.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, I got to get to know you, got to get to know them. Like, I got to get to know myself again.
Right. It's like a total identity crisis.
Yeah. Definitely is. But, yeah.
What you think the hardest thing was?
The hardest thing. I would have to say, like, probably moving away from family was probably one of the hardest things. And it wasn't in the beginning. It is now. Like, we still have some people here and stuff like that. But it's like our kids growing up, they missing their family. And then we don't have all the support system that we could have if we were closer.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest struggles sometimes. I mean, I would never, ever, ever, ever move back.
Right. Well, we would have more date nights for sure.
Definitely, because we don't get any for real. But yeah, I think that's...
So let me ask you, like, how do you think we... Well, let me go back to the first problem, and then we'll go to that one. But what do you think we did right when it comes to, like, adjusting to each other as we grew?
I think we were just super patient with one another. We are, like, you know, low key anyway. We're not like super temperamental and stuff like that. So it was easy to do that. But I think being patient with one another and talking, having good communication, like, I need this from you. You, like, what do you need from me? I think that was, you know, a key thing.
Yeah. And I think it was like just giving each other time. Because like we like would go through a phase, and it's just like, well, we just back up for a minute and just let them figure that out real fast, and then we'll see. But I think definitely communication, and then just giving it time, I think, and then we still accepted each other for whoever we became or whatever we grew as.
I think ultimately, like, we, like, changed in, you know, physical traits and things like that, and, like, you know, spiritually growing and stuff like that. But all in all, I think you're still the same person I married. Like, I married the person that wasn't within, you know? So, I mean, I knew that I was gonna marry you, and I knew I couldn't. Once I married you, you weren't going nowhere. So I mean, I had to figure out how to, adjust to all the changes.
The changes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about like us moving? How you think what we did right with that?
I think the right thing was to move.
I think I can agree with that. If you want your marriage to last and grow and to do all those things, seclude yourself.
Yeah.
I think it really helped us grow though.
Yeah, because there was nobody, to step in the mix or get in our business or, if we were having a bad day, nobody knew because we in the house by ourselves. Like, ain't nobody coming by, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody coming to just knock on the door.
Right.
So I think that is true though. And it's like we didn't have nobody to depend on. Like like in the time where we was like literally about to get evicted, we didn't have anybody to just be like, oh well, we can just live with them. No, like we had to try to figure it out, or we was gonna be sleeping in the car. Yeah. So it was like, yeah, that's like a devastating situation, but it still taught us how to figure stuff out.
Yeah. And it like grew our faith in everything.
Yeah.
Like we was like, look, Lord, I don't know.
Right. It's like that's the like for real, because we moved away, we had no choice but to depend on God. Like we couldn't depend on nobody. Nobody to give us a break from the kids, nobody to give us some time just so we can have some us time. Like nobody to just go crash and vent to and then end up telling all our business to that person. Like we didn't have any of that. So we just had to figure it out.
Cause I couldn't go to my friend's house and be like, yeah, you know what this did.
Well, I think it made us stronger.
Definitely.
But I can definitely see like it is hard because it's like we're missing the community. We're missing the family. We're missing all of that stuff.
Yeah. And even growing up, like, we're missing everybody grow up. Like,
that's
people having more kids and we're not there to see them. They don't know we don't know them. They don't know us. Yeah. Same with our kids. Like, they don't know them so much. So.
Ooh, I got a question. What's if you can just have one piece of advice for somebody that's about to get married? Since we on year 10, what's the one piece of advice you can give somebody?
I feel like I give this advice all the time, like when people tell me to get married. But I'm like, please go to premarital counseling.
You do give that advice.
Please go, because if you don't go, you don't know how to deal with situations when they pop up later down the line.
True.
Like in the beginning, it's all like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get married. I love him, blah, blah, blah. But like later down the line, 7 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you run into some situations. You be like, look, I don't know how to handle this. But because we went to counseling, I knew how to handle it. I knew how to, kind of control myself in different situations.
The fact that we literally had a whole book, like a book that told us how to do almost everything.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't like no sophisticated book. Like this was a book that the pastor like put together by himself in a little folder. But it was a whole book with like scriptures and everything that would like teach you how to deal with situations and just different things.
Yeah.
And so I agree.
I mean, the only thing that I would say in that change in that situation, change in that wording was like go to premarital counseling. I mean, like go to like a pastor.
That's facts.
Not just like, a therapist or a counselor.
Facts. That's facts. Because they're going to give it to you from a biblical sense.
Right.
That makes sense to your faith and all that kind of stuff. It's not just going to be some... Because they can tell you to do anything.
Right.
Like, you can go to somebody and they tell you, stand outside in the rain, dance 3 times, and...
Yeah.
Some type of witchcraft or something. Like,
separate. Take a break.
Right, yeah, like that.
You go this way, you gotta, like, no, we gonna do it, the way we're supposed to do it.
That's true.
So, what would you give? What would you say would be your number one advice?
Communication. Communicate. I think that it's like a lot of times, especially like when people like get in arguments, like the first thing they do after the argument is shut down and just like they don't talk. And then that's fine. Like if you need time, that's fine. But the part that's not okay is like to wake up the next morning and then just start talking like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then it's like it keep on happening.
Yeah.
It keeps happening, and then before you know it, it's like the wall is built up so high that you can't tear it down.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't address situations as they happen and try to fix them, it's like it's gonna get worse. And then there's another side of that. It's like sometimes people hold stuff in, and so like you got people that's like they're not argumentative, so they're not gonna argue, but somebody might do something, and they feel a certain way, and they never say anything, and then it happened again, and before you know it, that person just like go off on you, and you like, what did I do? But it's like it's not what you just did. It's like the 30 things that you did, and I never said anything. But that person should have communicated what was going on too.
I think we experienced that like pretty early on in my marriage.
Yeah, that was probably one of the first lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I think when people say like year one, I don't know if it's year one or year two is the hardest. I think it's what, 2?
I think it's like half of 1 and half of 2. Because like the first 6 months of being married, it's just like you still honeymooning for real. It's like you got a little tension going on every now and then, but you still like honeymooning. But then like it hit the fan like.
Yeah. And I think all of that is because of communication. Like that hard year is because y'all like, all right, you did this last year, you did this last week, you did this 2 months ago. When you gonna stop doing it? But you never addressed it then.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
Cause people, you know, they try to walk on eggshells in the beginning. You're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
They try to like.
Yeah.
I hate to say this word, but like pretend.
Yeah.
Cause like you still trying to like be like a girlfriend or like a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like so you like, well, I'm not gonna do this in front of this person, but it's like it's gonna come out eventually, like because you living together, you spending most of your time with each other, so it's gonna come out eventually.
Yeah. Cause eventually them habits, when you like, oh, I forgot I used to do that.
Right.
Get back to yourself. Like, damn, I forgot.
Walk in the house,
in front of him.
bathroom door wide open. You just like, okay then.
Hey.
So it's like you can't pretend for too long. Yeah. It's like like you said, if you like the type of person that just kind of let stuff slide, it's not gonna work. So I would definitely say communication, but premarital counseling and communication, I say those two are. Yeah.
I mean, because I can always go back and open my book.
Yeah.
And, you know, see how you were then and see the things that changed now. It's always good to, you know, see the progression.
Yeah. What you think about love language?
It's super important to know your partner's love language.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know their love language, you're not going to be able to love them the right way, the way that they need to be loved.
Pause. I gotta just say this too. Take the love language test, but take it again, because that's where we messed up, because it changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part that people don't realize too, is like what it is in the beginning and then what it is 2 years later, it might be different. It could change. So I think that's important. But to speak to what you just said, I think that's like, if you don't know what the person is looking for, then how could you ever give it to them? And then you might be doing something like, most of the time, if I didn't know your love language, I would give to you what I want.
Right.
But that's not the same. Right. It's like, that's not what you want. So it's like, most of the time, if a person don't know their spouses or mates' love language, they're going to try to give what they want. And then when the person say that they're not happy or they're not like, you know, they don't feel like they're happy in a relationship, you're like, well, I did all this and it was nothing that they wanted. So it's like,
because I mean, it's like if your love language is gifts, but your partner's love language is quality time, and they just like giving you all this time, like it's like, oh, I just want to be with you. You want to go here? You want to go? Let's go on a date. And it's like, dog, I don't want to be around you that much. Like, I love you, but that's too much. Like, I don't.
Where the gifts at? Are we going to get a gift?
Exactly. Can we go shopping? Like,
No, that's real. So I do believe you gotta know it.
yeah.
It's like it's super important. But this might be controversial, but I gotta say it. It's like you can't just depend on that either, though. Like I feel like you gotta really communicate again. Like just not even like on a serious tip, but just like really know who you with, because that one thing that the love language might pop up, that's important, but it might be a bunch of other things that you don't know about the person that you need to talk to them and figure it out.
Yeah.
Because even the way that you talk to somebody, like some people had, bad childhoods, and you can't just talk to somebody a certain way. And if you don't know that and you say the wrong thing and then you end up in a whole argument, I mean, that ain't come up in the love language test, but you got to know that person in order to know what to say and how to say it and all that kind of stuff.
Because, I mean, it's been times where it's like I'm not a sensitive person, but, like, if you say something to me in a way, like, I'm like, what you got an attitude for? Like, what? I just asked a question. Like, let me think of an example. Like, I just be like, hey, you seen the wipes? Like, you know where the baby wipes at? No, why would I know where they at? Like, that kind of stuff, like, pisses me off. Like, it's like, all you had to say was no. Like, it's just knowing how to, it's not just communicating, but knowing, like, tones and body language and all of those things that go with it.
Yeah.
To talk, you touched on him being happy, like, somebody being happy in a relationship. I'm not happy and blah, blah, blah. How do you feel about that word? Like,
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're not going to be happy and that people shouldn't be happy. But I think the first thing is, what is happy and what does it mean to you? Because sometimes a person's definition of happy is only a thing that they can give to themselves, and they expect somebody else to give it to them, but that person is not capable of giving them what it takes for them to be happy. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, I feel like every day is not going to be a happy day in your marriage. You might have a happy day at work, but it might not be a happy day in your marriage. But I think that it comes from a selfish mindset. And I think one of the things that we learned in premarital counseling is that marriage is all about serving. And it's serving the other person. And it's being the mate that you want. So it's like, if you're looking at just like trying to get something, like I'm just trying to get happiness from this person, I don't think it's going to work.
yeah.
Because that's not what it's made for. It's like you're supposed to be the one that's giving happiness. And now while somebody might be saying, well, that's one-sided, it's not. Because if two people are both doing that together, then they're making each other happy and they're doing all they can to make each other happy.
So, I mean, I feel the same exact way. It's like, nobody is happy all the time. So you can't expect, like, you're not happy when you have to go to school. You're not happy when you gotta go to work. You're not happy about, your nails not being done. Like, people just not happy all the time. So,
not happy about
like, I mean,
I'm not cooking dinner today. My nails.
Yeah, like
what?
My nails need to be done.
Shut up. But I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not happy, every day on a constant, like, on a, stupid stuff, then how can you expect to be happy every second of your marriage?
That's true.
You just can't.
I feel like people got their, like, working their dream jobs and they don't have happy days at their job.
Yeah.
Because it might be just a stressful day and they got a lot on their plate, or just whatever, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you can't expect that from your job, people, I'm sorry to say this, but like, people go to church and don't be happy. Like, they might be going through something and like they're at church and they're not. But it's like, you can't expect just like flowers and sunshine every second. Like, it's just not gonna.
It's not gonna be that way.
It's not gonna be realistic. So let me ask you this: How do you navigate that though? Like, how do you make sure that you're happy, or like how do you make sure that like you don't get upset or feel a certain way because you don't feel happy, or
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
I don't know. Sometimes I gotta check myself because I'm like, if like I'm not in this marriage, it's not just about me. So like I can't do. It's not all self. I have to see like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do to make you happy? Like if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then I can't expect you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing.
We had that issue before.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I can't remember the exact things, but it was like I wasn't doing something and you felt the way about it. And at the same exact time, you wasn't doing something and I felt the way about it.
Right.
So we just kind of both was like, well, I ain't doing this.
Yeah, like, he ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna make me happy. I ain't gonna worry about his happiness.
Right.
And that's just not.
But it taught us a lesson because it was like, well, if I would have been doing what I was supposed to be doing, then she would have did what I expected or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a good word too. What you feel about expectations?
I mean, I think that everybody should have expectations.
Okay.
I mean, like, certain things you want done a certain way, and that's fine. I mean, some expectations are just over the top. Like, I want, like when women, have like this long list of how they want their man to be or something like that. Like, that's a bit much, but if, like, certain things, like, I expect my husband to respect me. I expect my husband to support me. Like, those type of things, definitely.
Right. Yeah, because I remember I used to think, and I don't even know we was married yet, but I used to think, like, don't expect. And it might have been just the way that I was raised or just something that I put up on my own. But I used to always just think, like, don't expect anything because I didn't want to get let down. But, from a marital point, like you make vows with this person, you enter the covenant with this person, so it's like you have to expect something. Like, you gotta think about it, like if you had a business and you was doing business with somebody and you had a contract, you have every right to expect certain things from that. So it's like it's the same thing, and not to make like marriage into like a contract thing, but in a sense it is. And you have certain obligations and vows that you made, so you should expect.
Definitely.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I expect things from you. You expect things from me. And that's, as long as we meet those things, we keep each other happy.
And communication is how we meet those things.
Yeah. And, I mean, after 10 years, I think we know a little bit about how to maneuver a marriage.
That's very true.
If you had the opportunity to do it all over again, would you do it the exact same way, or would there be some changes? Like, 10 years wise.
I would only change my wedding.
Oh my gosh, I would too. I was like, dang, I wish I had a different wedding.
We were 19 and 20, not even that. 19 and 20 planning a wedding. Like, we didn't know what to really plan. And
I mean, we were 18 and 19.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a year back, so we didn't know what to plan.
Never had been to a wedding. So we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, so it's like, everything else, though, I think everything happened the way it's supposed to. Like, we had some tough times, but crazy enough, we got through them pretty fast. Like, they never were, like, really bad.
Yeah.
Like, not in a sense of, like, we separated or something like that. So it's like, I don't think I would want to redo any of that stuff, but it's like, just the wedding. That's it. We didn't have a bad wedding for 19 and 20-year-olds because everybody wanted to use that same exact venue after we got married. So we made a good choice, but it just wasn't what we liked.
Yeah, it wasn't. And especially now, like, like over the top now. Like, if it's not, like, the wedding has to probably be like $25,000. For us to be super happy.
Super happy. Like, for it to be the dream wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree
Or
with
more,
that.
you know? Like,
Yeah. I think back then we were more like, I can't explain
like
it.
minimalist.
Yeah, definitely. Like minimalistic, somehow country.
Yeah.
It was
I
weird.
don't know how we got country in there.
But but that was the style of the wedding. It was like minimalistic, rustic and country, and I don't know. It was just not what I would want now.
Yeah.
But I guess it was fine for today. And I had on this like Monopoly Man coat.
You did.
And I think I would change
Did I suggest that? Or
You liked it at first, but
you
you
showed
might
it
not
to me.
like it now. I might put a picture up to show y'all this Monopoly Man coat. Somebody said I looked like the Monopoly Man at the wedding, and I was offended.
I mean, somebody told me that I look pregnant. They asked me was I pregnant at my wedding.
That's
Super offensive. But, you know, I mean, I did gain a couple pounds, but it's super
that was
offensive.
offensive,
Like,
especially
dang,
at
you
a
think I'm
wedding.
getting married because I'm pregnant?
By the way, we didn't have kids. It's like what, a year and a half
A year and a
after.
half later, yeah.
Well, guys, that is the end of our series this evening. Thank you so much for joining us and chiming in tonight.
Yeah, so it was nice.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this often, so make sure that you subscribe and all that great stuff so that you can get a notification when the newest podcast drop.
Yeah, we have been talking about this for a long time now, so it's good that we finally doing it, and I think we have a lot of things that we can talk about and you all will be interested in. So, yeah, like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever you got to
Make sure that you comment some questions if you're married, if you want to get married or anything like that, or just if you want to have questions for us personally, just comment some questions and we'll make sure we get to them on one of these shows.
Definitely. Thanks.